Hi, my name is Marie Moloney, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Kentucky in sociology.
And I'm Tony Love, and I'm also an assistant professor in sociology at the University of Kentucky.
Today, we're going to talk to you about our paper, Assessing Online Misogyny, Perspectives from Sociology and Feminist Media Studies. There's been a lot of press lately about what some people are calling this culture of hate or trolling culture, and we thought that was really fascinating because it poses it as though this hatred or trolling is randomly distributed. But as people who are studying gender, we notice, in fact, it's not randomly distributed at all. Women are much more likely to be trolled or oppressed in online social spaces. When we looked at the literature on this, there's a lot of good stuff that's been done by people in feminist media studies and in communications, but uh, their conceptualizations tend to be more gender neutral. Still, we think it's a great place to start in terms of building literature on this. Some noteworthy concepts that we pulled from were online sexual harassment, gender trolling, e-bile, and disciplinary rhetoric.
Yeah, and those categorizations are really important and are helpful for describing the distinctions between these types of online misogynistic behavior. But one thing that we wanted to add was a more sociological focus and a more broad macro focus uh, to the point that this is kind of part of the same social phenomenon as misogynistic or hegemonic masculinity and that domination in face-to-face interaction. So we take the interactionist perspective on gender as performative, and what that does is it opens the door for us to kind of bridges the gap between the existing theory in face-to-face interaction and what we studied in online interaction. So we were able to look at the ways in which heterosexual men dominate women in virtual social spaces using those same ideas because we're focused on the interaction and the action, not necessarily just the actor.
Yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. So, in our previous paper, we looked at a specific case study of what we're calling virtual manhood acts. We looked at the instance of the fappening, which took place in 2014, and it was this massive online hacking and distribution of celebrity nude photos and videos. And what we noticed was that this went beyond just mere sexualization of these women. It really was about oppressing them and degrading them. And we pulled from the manhood acts literature, which is a great literature because it makes a distinction between, it goes beyond sort of that gray area of multiple masculinities and talks specifically about the ways in which manhood acts oppress women and elevate men. And we wanted to look at that in a virtual social space. So what we found is that in-person manhood acts and online manhood acts or virtual manhood acts are similar in that they oppress women and they elevate men, but uniquely, virtual manhood acts use technology, can be visually, can be textually, to signal a manhood, or excuse me, a masculine persona, as well as often signaling a physical male body. And like Tony was saying with the interactionist perspective, you don't have to have a male body to present yourself as a man, and this was even more true in virtual social space. And again, in contrast to some of these previous conceptualizations of online misogyny, we really wanted to make clear that with virtual manhood acts, it's about these problematic practices of men and the ways in which they oppress and subjugate women, and actually anyone who falls outside kind of the two and only two conceptualizations that we have of sex and gender in our society.
Yeah, and that can be kind of a limitation of this particular piece, this
sure.
work here. But it also leaves the door open for future research that can examine the ways that these domination processes occur for other categories,
Right.
social categories, all along the continuum. So the door is open there for people to study the way that other groups might be subjugated, similarly to what we found and what we've seen. I think the important thing here is that we show that this kind of overall process, this overall group of activities or actions that we see in face-to-face interaction also exists in online. It makes sense that it would be reproduced there, and that's what we see.
Yeah, absolutely. We also want to add that we think that this is a good teaching tool.
Oh, sure, yeah.
we are lucky enough that we've had some good feedback from friends who've seen drafts of this, and we think that this could be broadly appealing to students in Intro to Sociology, Gender Studies, Masculinity Studies, and this is probably particularly relevant for young people as they're online a large proportion of their lives now.
Yeah, a lot of their life is digitally mediated, and so I think they'll kind of gravitate towards this and they'll latch onto it and they'll see. They have a lot more experience than some of us do with online misogyny or any kind of domination or hateful rhetoric online. And so I think they'll latch onto this pretty readily. And it'll be a good way for them to think sociologically about a real occurrence in their lives.
Yeah, so thank you so much for watching our video abstract. We hope that you'll read Assessing Online Misogyny, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any thoughts or questions.
Thanks.